Hi, Neal here, Artistic Director and Conductor of your Dayton Philharmonic Orchestra, with Piano Bench Chat for March 1st, as a matter of fact. I chose March 1st because things just kind of came together to make this, for me, the day to do it for this month. The first thing was that, if you remember it, March 1st was the first day that it's felt like it really is going to be spring. A beautiful warm day here in Dayton, and that made me and probably everybody feel really happy. Second thing, as many of you know, going all the way back to when the Piano Bench Chat started and the whole beginning of the pandemic, one of the things that I started to do was to begin every morning sitting at the piano and starting by playing a chorale of Johann Sebastian Bach from my book of chorales number 1 through 91 by Bach. And yesterday, on February 28th, I played chorale number 91, which means today I went right back to the very beginning of the book and started with chorale number 1. So it felt like turning a corner, going back and repeating that cycle of chorales. And of course, it also feels maybe like we're turning a corner in terms of the pandemic. Looks like the mask mandates are coming down, and maybe things will, hopefully, if we all stay smart and stay careful and have a little luck, maybe getting back to something that feels like the way it used to feel. So that was the kind of mood of renewal I was in, and that's what inspired me to jump on March 1st and do this month's Piano Bench Chat right at the beginning of the month. There's another piece that's on my piano and that's on my mind, and it's one of my favorite pieces, and it's actually what I really wanted to talk to you about. I'll play you a little bit of it and tell you what I'm thinking about. That's the beginning of the second movement of Beethoven's 7th Symphony. One of my favorite Beethoven symphonies and one of many people's Beethoven symphonies. You'd be surprised how many people in the last few weeks people have seen the signs about Beethoven's 7th coming up, and they say, "That's my favorite symphony. I'm so glad you're playing it." And I know lots of people feel that way. And that second movement is maybe one of the most beautiful and maybe a lot of people's favorite movements of the symphony. And I love it. It's a wonderful, beautiful, powerful piece, kind of hypnotic in a way. But I think it's really one of the most amazing and unbelievable pieces that Beethoven ever wrote. And it has to do with the way it begins and the way it ends. It begins with this really very strange chord, which in a way isn't strange. It's the chord of A minor, and the Symphony number 7 is in A major, so A minor is a perfectly good place to be. But what's really strange about this is what the lowest note of the chord is, which is played by the second horn, along with the first horn an octave higher. So the horns play that and everyone else plays, which means that in a normal way, this symphony would begin like this. An A minor chord with the note A as the lowest note. But what Beethoven writes is the E, the 5th of the chord, if you're keeping track, is the note that's in the bottom. Which means that this is inherently an unstable chord. This is a chord which normally would do something like this. go somewhere and then resolve to that full A minor chord. But he gives you this sort of unstable beginning. Like, what the heck is this? And then he goes into the beautiful melody. So 8.5 minutes later, all kinds of things happen. It starts very softly, it gets gradually bigger, it has a kind of, and more dramatic, it has a kind of gentle middle section, then it has a kind of very mysterious section, then it goes back to the gentle section, and then he finishes kind of with the same music that he began. And it's the end that is so, I mean, the beginning is extraordinary because it starts with that unstable chord, but the ending is, in a way, even more extraordinary. And I'll try to show you what happens at the end. It goes like this. So he ends exactly where he started, on this unstable chord. So it's like you begin floating in this mysterious place. He takes you on this dramatic, slightly strange but marvelous journey, and then you end up exactly where you started. And it's so unusual for Beethoven because so many of Beethoven's pieces are about starting somewhere and ending somewhere else. It's about a progression, it's about a movement, it's about continuous change and arrival at an endpoint. And here in the middle of the symphony, in a symphony which is on the larger shape going to do that, he gives you this second movement that in the larger scale of things goes nowhere. It starts here. 8 minutes of music go by, and you're still there, floating in mystery. It is one of the just great pieces of all time, and I'm so happy that the Philharmonic and I will be performing it for you on our March classical concert, our March Masterworks concert in the middle of the month. It's a wonderful program. The first night of the concert is the day after St. Patrick's Day, so I couldn't pass up playing this wonderful piece by the composer Charles Stanford called Irish Rhapsody No. 1. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece, and in the middle there's a very familiar tune. I won't tell you what it is, but when it comes, the whole audience is going to go, oh, it's really a wonderful, wonderful piece. Then we have another wonderful piece, the Oboe Concerto by Richard Strauss, with our principal oboist, Eileen Whalen, as our soloist. Wonderful piece that kind of evokes a little bit of the Mozart style, even though Strauss wrote it in the mid to late 1940s. Just an incredible piece of music and a wonderful opportunity for you to hear our great principal oboe, Eileen Whalen, out in front of the orchestra as a soloist, and then we finish with Beethoven 7. A wonderful program for what I hope will be a wonderful month for all of you. As always, stay safe, stay sane, stick with us. We have so much more great music and dance and opera coming up for you at the Dayton Performing Arts Alliance in March and in April and then the rest of the season. I hope you're doing well. See you next month for our April Piano Bench Chat.